Hi and welcome to another very exciting tutorial. Today we're going to explore the power of the UIStackView that helps us to save some auto layout constraints, to deal with great layouts, and to do that really easily. So as you can see, this is our demo application. It doesn't do much. We can actually click on the show description button, and then the description shows and hides, and the rest of the user interface actually does some nice little animations. And if we will have a look at the code, you will see that this is really easy to achieve. And also, once we rotate our screen, everything is adapted automatically, and it is really easy to use and to create that using UIStackView. So let's create this application. And before we get started, I'd like to thank you again for this huge number of subscriptions to this channel. We have reached over 20,000 subscriptions now, and to thank you, I have reduced all of the prices at Udemy, and you can also use the promo codes in the video description to get the courses at an even lower price. I set them all to the lowest possible price at Udemy. So with that said, let's now continue with creating our app. I'm going to bring up Xcode and create a new application. Let's call it StackView. And click next, and let's create that on the desktop. And you might have already noticed that I have some images here that we're going to use to illustrate the movie theme of this application. And so what we do is we bring up the image assets folder and simply drag and drop those files into our image assets right here. And you will also find, of course, these images in the video description below. So now let me increase the size of my Xcode window a little, and let's head to our main storyboard. And we are going to deal with UIStackView. And UIStackView was actually introduced with iOS 9, so it's quite new. And it helps us to automatically deal with auto layout. So we will now simply start creating our user interface as we would without using the stack view. So we'll bring up some labels here. So this is going to be the first label. Let's write a great movie. Let me just align it something like that. And what did I say here? Movie was released at. So let's say movie was released at, let's say 2016. And also, let me just move that back in here. Let's add the button with show description. Show description. All right. So now with these three UI elements set, what we can do is select them all right here in Interface Builder. And then there is this tiny little symbol that says stack. And by clicking on that symbol, our three UI elements will be embedded into a UI stack view. And as you can see, the background is a little bluish now, and the UI stack view can be adjusted in many different ways. And we're going to just keep it simple for now and keep it just like that. And we will add some more elements to the bottom of our UI, which are three buttons. So let me just copy and paste that again here. And they say, let me have a look, rate Wikipedia and save. They don't do anything, but it's great to have them here. Let's say rate Wikipedia and rate. And if we were to use auto layout now, we either would need to add some spaces here, or we would have to set different constraints for all of these buttons. But now with the with the UIStackView, what we can do is again select them and click on the stack button here at the lower right corner. And as you can see now, they are put together completely. So this is not what we want. But let's move this stack view to a position where we'd like to have our buttons later in Y direction. And now let's simply use the pin button for auto layout here. And what I want to do is I want to pin it, this stack view, to left, to the right, and to the bottom. So what I do here is I enter 0 here, add the constraint by clicking on it, add 0 here, so this is the distance to our trailing margin, and also enter 0 here, and then we add the constraint. And as you can see, we now have the width that we would expect and the width that we want. So now to distribute all of our buttons, all we need to do is moving up to the right, having a look at the selecting our stack view, not the button, and it's sometimes hard to get, so let's just move to the left and select the stack view here. And then when we have a look at the attributes inspector here, then what we can see is that once we choose another distribution, at the moment it's set to fill, and as soon as we tell it to equal spacing, we immediately get the result that we wanted. And this is so simple, and it's also great that you can actually adjust the axis of the stack view. So at the moment we used horizontal, and Interface Builder automatically decided that it should be horizontal because our buttons were placed in a horizontal row. What we could, and here if we have a look at this stack view at the top, you can see that it determined that our axis should be vertical. And we can also change that to horizontal, and then it is automatically laid out in a horizontal direction. So we could also tell this stack view to align our, to distribute our UI elements with equal spacing. And then we could increase the spacing between each element, but that's not what we want. So let's simply set this to 0 again and set it back to vertical. And what we also want to do here is we want to bring it to a position where we like it, bring up the pin view here, and then let's keep the constraint for 8 at the top, 0 to the left, 0 here, and also activate this constraint. Come on, let's enter 0 here, and then let's add those 3 constraints, and now our stack view is aligned properly. So what we can also do is give this maybe a bold style, and then we're good to go to add our image views. So to do that, let's simply bring up an image view here. Let's set its size to 100 in width, 100 in height. Let's copy it 2 times, just to have 3 image views, and then we will place our images into those images, into these image views, and they're simply called 1, 2, and 3. And with that done, we will select all of our image views and make sure that the content mode is set to aspect fill. All right, so now that we have created our image views, all we need to do now is select them, and you might have guessed it, simply click on the stack button. And if you mistakenly created a stack, let me just see if we already did it. Yes. If you created a stack by mistake, all you need to do is pressing Alt on your keyboard and click on that again, and then you can select unembed, and by that removing the stack view. So again, what we want to do here is positioning it somewhere like here, and actually let's create a constraint now between our stack view and our top stack view here, and just add a vertical spacing. And to add such a constraint, you can use the document outline here, simply press Control and then drag to the proper UI element you want to create a constraint to. So with that done, we can again use the pin menu at the bottom, and tell it to have constraint to the left, to the right. Again, let's set 0 here, and we don't need a constraint to the bottom here. So let's add those two constraints, and our image view is our image views are positioned. But now that we have the positioning of our image views in our stack view set, again we have a problem with the distribution. What we need to do again here is set it to equal spacing, and then we can immediately see that we have a nice distribution here. And if we have a look at that now and run our application in the simulator, maybe we should have a look at the errors that it tells us to correct. Our stack view needs a Y position. Actually, I thought we gave it a Y position. So let's have a look at the stack view. Have a look to the size inspector, and as you can see, we indeed only have a constraint for the trailing space, so to the left, to the right, and to the leading space to the left in that case. And now all we need to do, and all that's left, we can again use pin to set a constraint to the bottom, and simply select that, and let's keep it at 20 actually, and add that constraint. And now this should be all right, and we don't have any warnings or errors left. So let's run our application, and let's see what happens. So simulator starts in landscape mode, and as you can see, we already got the result we expected, and we can move it around, and this is pretty great. So now let's see how we can modify our application at runtime, and how we can actually even animate the appearing description. So for the description, let me just add another label, and we will simply moving it right below the show description button. And then what we want to do is maybe again selecting our stack view, have a look at the attributes inspector, and as you can see, we have for the alignment also different options. We now set it to leading. We could also set it to center, and it automatically in the background adds the proper constraints to center all of our UI elements. We are actually quite happy with the leading option here, so let's keep it that way. And to find some blind text, what I like to do actually is using a website called lipsum.com. So if you ever need blind text, you simply can go into here, select the number of paragraphs that you need, and I'm going to select just a little bit of text here. That should do it. Move back to Xcode and insert it here. And then I also want this to have 2 lines so that the text fits, and then we can move down our image view a little. So let me select the proper stack view here, and we will simply use the size inspector and move it down just a little. And we could also use here our little indicator here at in our view controller scene, which is this yellow circle with the arrow in it, and it tells us that our stack view with the images actually has a Y position of 189, but it expects it to have 170, and we can simply click on that and update the frames and fix the misplacement really quickly, and now we're already done. But this label actually should not be visible when we start our application. So let's, first of all, before we do anything, let's create a connection to our view controller class. I've just brought up the assistant editor. I'm simply calling it description label. And we created an IB outlet for it. And now we will simply, with the label selected, head over to the attributes inspector and activate the hidden feature. And as you can see, everything we do is automatically adjusted in our user interface, in our view controller, and the stack view automatically resizes itself. So now let's head over to our view controller file. And before we do that, actually I forgot to create the action for our button. So let's select our button, bring up the assistant editor, and create an action for show description. So I just enter show description, and instead of an outlet connection, I create an action. And now with our IB action in place, we head back to our view controller. And what we first of all want to do is we want to change the title of our button accordingly, so that once we have displayed our description, we also want to tell the user that he can now hide the description by using the same button actually. And to do that, we will create a button object here, and we can simply use the sender that is given to us as a parameter here and cast that to a UI button. And now we can simply check if our button and its title label and its text property is equal to show description. Then what we want to do is we want first of all the button to say that you can now hide the description. So we use the button, set the title, hide description for state normal. So with that, we have simply changed the button title. And now all that there's left to do to actually show our description with a nice animation is using UIView and animate with duration. We set this duration to 0.3 seconds. And now the magic of UIStackView and what you actually get for free when you're using UIStackView is we can simply use our description label and its hidden property and set it to false. The stack view automatically behaves in just the way you saw it in the demonstration earlier. So this is what we want to do when we show the description. So else, if we want to hide it, all we need to do, and we can simply copy that actually, we want to change the button title again to show description. And again, we use the same code block here for animating our description label and hiding it. So we're setting the hidden property to true. And with that done, we can actually simply run our application. And here we go. So everything looks as we expected it. We can turn it around just fine, every direction. We can say show description, and it automatically moves down our image views, hide, and it moves them up and back and forth. And this is really, really great and really, really easy. So actually, when you create user interfaces, then you can actually start with those stack views before using auto layout. What we could also talk about for a moment is how this stack view does that. And as a matter of fact, every UI element that we used here has a so-called intrinsic content size. So the intrinsic content size is determined by the content that is placed into a label, for example, or into a button. And also we placed an image that has a size of 100 by 100 pixels into our UI image view, which gives it an intrinsic content size of 100 by 100 pixels. And the same applies to our buttons here. So with this intrinsic content size, the stack view determines the size of our different views here. And what we can also do here, we can change this app to be universal in our project settings. So just head over to your Xcode project and change under general your devices to universal. And once we select, let's say, an iPad Air 2, and we run this app, and as you can see also with that change, in size. Our interface still behaves as we expected it. Our hide show description works just fine, and this is just great if you're building universal applications. So let me know what you think about UIStackView and what else you would like to know about UIStackView, and don't forget to check out those Udemy courses, and have a great day.